Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, a victim of human trafficking opens up about how she fell victim, how she broke free, and the healing process. The Barrie Baycats missed out on a championship last year, but have high hopes for this year. We get a preview of their season, which begins tonight. Barrie's MS Walk is just around the corner. We get some insight into the disease from a local resident living with it. Also coming up, Razors of Hope, a Shave Your Head fundraiser to support the Terry Fox Foundation. We get the conversation started after this. Our region has a reputation for being a hub for human trafficking. South Simcoe Police recently honored several of its officers for their work on Project Chameleon, which resulted in the arrest of 8 people and the rescue of 3 victims. Krystal Brooks has been a victim of human trafficking. She stopped by recently to share her journey in the hope others don't fall victim and to give hope to those who have. She's with our Ian MacLennan.
This began when you were 16. We'll get to your journey, but you did speak recently at Georgian College. It was Red Dress Day. What is that?
So Red Dress Day is on May 5th, and it's a day to help bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people.
Tell us about your journey. You've said this very complex. How did you get caught in this so-called web?
So I was 16, and I had met an older man. He was in his mid-20s. I had met him online on Facebook, and we connected that way. We had a lot in common. We had the same music in common. I lacked confidence. I lacked self-worth. I didn't have a very good perception of myself. So I think that he was able to pinpoint that. So every time he would give me a compliment or, give me some kind of gift, he knew what he was doing, and it was very love-bomby. So I think it was easy to hook me in that way, to bring me in that way.
He was your knight in shining armor?
Yeah.
And this was going back almost a decade now, about? How long ago was this?
So I'm 31 now, so okay. 15 years ago.
15 years ago. Were you living at home at the time?
Yes. Yeah, I was living with my mom.
Did she know who you were talking to?
Not in the beginning. She didn't find out until maybe about 2 months after talking with him. And then by the time, 3 months had gone by, I moved in with him and I was living with him.
Did your mother ever meet this person before you left home?
Yeah, she met him once, briefly. And
what was the vibe?
She didn't like him. I remember her telling me he's a predator. And I didn't really understand that at 16, that word. I had no idea.
Did you take offense to those comments about your knight in shining armor?
I did. I saw it as she didn't trust me to make good decisions. She didn't trust my decision-making skills, and I took it very personally.
It was a how dare you moment?
Yeah.
You left. Where did you go?
So I moved in with him. I lived with him for several months. Living with him made it easier for him to isolate me.
So when did the shine start to come off?
Pretty quickly.
Give us some examples.
So before, he was always very calm and polite and really sweet with me. Then it kind of turned to, he was very agitated and I couldn't do anything right. And, anytime he would criticize me, it was very upsetting. But then, he would, again, do that love bombing sort of behavior. It was very, very hot and cold. I never knew what version I was going to get. So I was constantly walking on eggshells. And then he started talking about these drug debts that he had. And then he asked me if I could help pay off these drug debts by sleeping with these individuals. And it was, it was done in a way where, he was constantly talking about this grand future that we were going to have. All he needed to do was take care of these drug debts. And if I really wanted that future with him, if I really wanted to be with him, I would do this.
So it was a guilt rap too.
Very manipulative, yes.
Yeah. when did the trafficking begin? And I mean, what form did it take in terms of were you shuttled from hotels, or did people come to you, or how did that play out?
So initially it was hotels, and going to people's houses, and then I was shuffled around. I've been in Quebec, I've been in Newfoundland, I've been pretty much all over Ontario. I think Quebec and Newfoundland are the only provinces I was outside of Ontario, but...
Doing this, how long were you in his sort of web, so to speak? How long did he control you?
A couple of years. And then it was very on and off after that. So it was like I would leave him, and then I wouldn't have contact with him for a period of time, and then he would find a way to contact me, or I would go back to that situation.
You needed him.
Yeah.
He was a safety net, though, too, wasn't he?
Yeah. He had already developed and established that codependency with me. So it was very, very hard to break that.
Some might ask, why didn't you go to the police, or did you reach out to family at any time?
I did reach out to family here and there, or family friends, and I would call them up and say, I need to be picked up, and they were about an hour away, so they would say, okay, we'll come and get you, be ready at this time. And then within a half hour, I was calling them back saying, it's fine, because, we had settled whatever fight or whatever had just happened.
So there's a bit of normalcy again. Mm-hmm. How did you get away from him?
Honestly, it was more he just couldn't find me after a while. I had moved around so much that he just couldn't find me.
You stopped looking?
Yeah.
And you're on your own. You don't have him anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know your family situation. They're there too. How did you begin to heal both physically and emotionally? And have you healed?
I think for me, healing is going to be a lifelong journey. There is never not going to be something that triggers me, or a memory, or what have you. I have to wake up every single day and decide how I'm going to live my life. I'm always going to be at risk of falling back into that life, I think. I'm always going to be at risk of, having mental health struggles, and I'm an addict and alcoholic in recovery, so I have to constantly take care of my mental health in that way. Like I said, I don't think I will ever be done healing. But it has been a really long, difficult, but beautiful journey.
And speaking about it publicly, like you did at Georgian College and elsewhere, is that part of the healing process?
So I don't like to share my story, but when I was coming out of that situation, I didn't have anybody locally to turn to that understood me as a person. I didn't have anybody locally that I saw myself in. I didn't know anybody else who had been trafficked. And the sad thing is they were always there. They were just so hidden. But I really needed that visibility at that time. So when I started sharing my story, then other people started sharing their story with me. And there's a bit of selfishness in that for me. I don't feel alone. But I also don't want anybody else in these situations to feel alone. There's so many people that we encounter in our daily life that we don't even know are being trafficked, and they don't know that they're being trafficked.
And we know like Highway 400 is a conduit for, trafficking. And quickly too, I guess, for people think, my daughter, sometimes son, we know in the LGBT community for boys, that, Monday they find somebody, Tuesday they're gone. But as your story and what I've heard previously, the grooming can take weeks, even months, and the victim may be still living at home and family's unaware.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of situations that actually are in the high schools. So it's starting very young. And they're living at home and their families are completely unaware. And the really scary thing is that oftentimes it's not just one person that's trafficking them. There's several people. And for me, I know I mentioned the one individual, but there were a lot more individuals that were exploiting me at that time. And it very much felt like I was just being passed around through different people in different locations. I
heard a social worker say it takes the humanity out of it. Trafficking takes the humanity out of the individual.
Yes.
You're an object. You're not even really human.
I have been through the court process. When I was getting ready for court, I dressed very professionally, like you would dress as you were going to court. The last court date that I had, I chose to wear a ribbon skirt and beaded earrings. And when I was in that room, I never once felt like I was an object or like I was being sexualized. When I was wearing a ribbon skirt, I felt like it was impossible for me to be sexualized or objectified in that moment. That is the first time in my journey as far as the court process goes that I didn't feel like an object.
Did the people, the perpetrators, you talk about the court system, were they ever prosecuted?
We're still waiting for sentencing, but yeah, I have high hopes for that.
If you have concerns or are looking for help for someone you believe is a victim of human trafficking, contacting police is always an option. You can also reach out to Simcoe Muskoka Family Connections, Victim Services, Simcoe County, or the Child and Youth Advocacy Center of Simcoe Muskoka. Close but no cigar for the Barrie Baycats last season. Hopes running high as they begin the new season tonight at home against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Barrie 360's Will Conkin tracked down GM Josh Matlow for a preview of the season and to find out what special events the team has in store for fans this year.
You had a successful season last year, made it to the finals, but came up short in that one. What were your priorities for the club this offseason?
So it was not successful enough, obviously, but we were close and we got that pace. The priorities were pitching, having a bolstered rotation, someone that we can rely on and know what we're getting each game. So we've done that with Carlos Sano and Cesar Rosado, two very big arms, which we're very excited about. They pitched the exhibition game this past weekend, and we saw what they had. They're really excited to be here, but they're also big arms. One of them may fall back into the back of the bullpen, maybe as a closer or relief, but we'll see what we got.
What did you take away from that final series with Welland? Is it kind of all motivation to get back there?
Yeah, it's funny. I said it when we first lost, and I stick to it. It sounded crazy when I first said it. We got that taste. We were so close. Yet, it obviously didn't happen. Momentum is a thing in baseball, and I know the guys are extremely hungry coming back this year. And there's one goal on mind.
The league posted a recent preseason power rankings and have you guys second. You have the core returning. That's always good to have those returning players of the core, right?
Yeah, we have pretty much every piece to the puzzle from last year. Signed them nice and early. We were fully signed almost in our entire roster before Christmas, and I don't think any other team had a player signed. So we meant business. The guys were excited. They knew they were coming back. I knew they wanted to come back. So it's nice to build around. It gives me an opportunity to have that foundation and then kind of see what we have from there and then build as we go.
A couple of those new additions that you had mentioned, what's your overall assessment of those guys and the team overall during kind of the off-season prep and training camp?
Yeah, so I brought in 8 new guys. I expect all 8 to be impactful players right off the bat. They're all professional experience, or either available from a professional league or some sort of professional experience. So they know how to play baseball. They know what the expectations are. I think they fit the mold perfectly. They're very good human beings, which really helps because we spend a lot of time together, but it helps the foundation and the team gel together. But they know what the task at hand, and they're very excited to be here.
The season goes by probably pretty fast, but at times can probably feel like it drags on for stretches. How do you maintain team morale overall and a cohesion throughout the season?
Yeah, again, that comes with team gelling and one unit kind of mentality. We're all in this together. We have one goal, one unit, and to be honest with you, when you're winning, it does help. So the more we can put some wins in on the field, I know the guys go home happy and they're obviously excited about the next game. And when you go on a run too, it becomes a little bit addicting to be at the ballpark more than normal. So, but I think it's a great group. I think it's a good quality group in terms of human beings, but also great ball players. And I think we're very happy where we're at, and we're very excited to get started.
Are there any younger players that you believe will have a surprise or have an impact on the season?
Most of our guys are a little older. We have 26 guys signed as of today, and all 26 will be with us come playoff time. So we don't lose any college kids. So we really don't have that young core like we first did when we were rebuilding back a few years ago. So that's going to be huge going into the playoffs with, having your team and your guys and not losing anyone. And last year we lost a couple players in a row, Gary Doyle, who's a huge piece of our puzzle, and we're hoping to get him back. Obviously, we're hoping he gets drafted this year, so we don't know what the status is yet. And we lost Josh Cote to a Canadian Collegiate League. He was also a college player we lost at the end of the season, which was really our number one catcher at that time. So we won't have that issue this year, which, again, everyone's excited about. And if you can get that momentum and get the season started right away and get in that winning mode and that mentality, I think that would take us through the lengthy season.
And for the fans, what can they look forward to this season? What kind of special events do you have planned?
So we're going to have a lot of fun this year. There's a lot of theme nights. We have Junior Baycats team sponsored by Paul Fadlin Motors. They're going to have a whole bunch of activities, and there will be some fun inflatable games from party time amusement. So it's going to look a little different, feel a little different, but it's going to be great for the kids on Saturday afternoons, the 4 o'clock games. And then we have some really cool theme nights like At the Park, sponsored by Benetech, where they're going to open the doors to the public, and it's going to be completely free admission. So we're excited about that. Obviously, the boys like playing in front of a big crowd, and it'd be really good for the community to come out, make some memories, cheer the boys on, and have some fun at the ballpark.
First pitch tonight at Vintage Throne Stadium, 7:35. What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, a couple of charitable events you might want to be a part of, the Barrie MS Walk and Razors of Hope. Now this.
It's cool to care.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Cool to Care is brought to you by the Peggy Hill team, keeping it real all the way to sold. Reach out now at peggyhill.com.
It's cool to care with 107.5 Cool FM.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. He's doing it again. Barrie's Jason Hellman gearing up for another Razors of Hope, getting his head shaved to raise money for the Terry Fox Foundation. And former chair of the Terry Fox Run locally, Patrick Scott, is ready to shave off his beard if enough people jump on board to help out. They're with our Ian MacLennan.
Razors of Hope, when did you first hear about this?
Jason approached me, I believe it was in 2015, late 2015, wanting to do a head shave for Terry Fox. And I said, Jason, if you can get this off the ground, I'll gladly support you. And here we are many years later. Jason got it off the ground in 2016, and here we are.
So we're almost into a decade, Jason, and where did you come up with this idea? Why the haircut?
Well, first of all, it started with the loss of my grandparents, and because I had great admiration for Terry Fox and his whole family.
And you also have lost some, is it friends to cancer?
Yes, friends too, yes.
So was that sort of a driving force too to,
Yes.
you admire Terry Fox and
yes,
then
I admire Terry for who he is as a Canadian and for what he did for all of us, for everything.
And so what's going to take place, Razors of Hope? It's at the Barrie Police headquarters, and when is it taking place and what happens?
So basically it's happening on May 25th at the Barrie Police Station. And we're looking for positive and energetic people to come and get their heads shaved. Like Patrick said, we are hoping to raise at least $20,000 if the beard comes off. But my goal is actually $10,000. But right now I'm struggling with donations.
Yeah, but you're aiming high, and you're
Yes.
feeling good, though you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna the beard that I can see, and you're gonna lose that baby, huh?
We raised $20,000 on Saturday, May 25th. I will gladly lose this beard. I look at it this way. I'm just losing a little bit of hair. Cancer patients lose a whole lot more than just a little bit of hair.
How meaningful is that beard? There is some symbolism there, isn't there?
Well, I started growing the beard about 3 years ago, and I never really thought too much of it when I first started growing it. But then all of a sudden, one day I just thought, well, let's see how long I can grow this before somebody at work says something about it. And nobody's really made a comment about it one way or the other. So it's to the point now where I can actually braid it. But if, as I said, if we raise $20,000, I'll gladly lose the beard and have my head shaved as well.
Now, do you have a professional that's going to do it, or are you going to take the razors, Jason?
Well, we do have a professional, but I'm hoping to take the razors as well. Her name is Loy Martin. She's a great friend of mine, and she helps my mom with her hair as well. She's going to be cutting our hair.
Now, people can't see, but it doesn't look like you need a haircut. You got almost a buzz there.
Yeah. My mom has been bugging to get my head shaved off before. I'm like, no, I need it for this event.
And you participated in Terry Fox Run when you were in school and what have you. So it's just been something that you've done every year since then?
Yeah, I've been doing Terry Fox in between the waves of COVID as well.
What do you think of Jason's initiative? To step up and keep this going.
It's absolutely fantastic. Jason can actually show the world that, hey, you know what? I'm just one person and I can make a difference.
Again, the Razors of Hope is happening May 25th at Barrie Police Headquarters on Fairview Road. If you can't make it but would still like to donate, you can do that online at events.terryfox.ca, then type in Razors of Hope. It's unpredictable, an autoimmune disorder where the body attacks itself, a disease of the central nervous system, multiple sclerosis. 90,000 Canadians are living with it, with an average 12 more being diagnosed every day. Stephen Mertzos has MS, which is why he's here with our Will Conkin to promote this year's Barrie MS Walk.
What is your story with MS, and how did you get connected maybe with the walk committee?
I do live with MS, and it started in April of 2020. All gyms were closed because due to COVID, everything. So being an athlete my entire life, I wanted to stay active. And then it started with my left leg, giving me trouble walking and everything. So I figured it was just a regular injury, being an athlete my whole life. And then by the time October hit, I saw my family doctor, sent me for MRIs. And then on November 1st, it was actually a Saturday, he called me and they told me I do have MS.
How did you get connected with the MS Walk Committee?
The reason I connected is because I wanted to make a difference with my background in politics, being involved in the community, and then I connected with the community to make the difference, to help set up with the walks and do what I can with the MS Society.
Would you be open to maybe sharing some of those challenges that you face due to MS, maybe on a daily basis?
Yeah, I would say the daily basis struggles are definitely fatigue. It's a hit and miss. Sometimes heat bugs could bug me, and the weather changes cause issues. Mm-hmm. They cause issues. And I would say to find that balance is really important. It's more so understanding your body, and with life in general, finding the priorities, what matters to you, and living your life to the fullest, I would say, and doing what you want to do.
Has your perspective on life kind of changed since being diagnosed?
Going through anything like this it's finding what's important to you and realizing that you live one life and you got to live it to the fullest.
Does it kind of make it even more special then to support like the MS Walk cause?
Yeah, it's really special to support it because, like with diagnosis, everyone is diagnosed differently. Some people are diagnosed and then they go into like a wheelchair or a walker or progressive forms. They lead to the wheelchair or the walker. Some people's memory are impacted. Some people lose their vision. So it's a really hit and miss disease. And the one thing I would say is looking at me, you wouldn't be able to tell I have MS. That's why it's also called the invisible disease.
Looking at Barrie's MS Walk, maybe tell when and where is it? What's kind of happening?
Yeah, so it's May 26th at Heritage Park this year. And I would say from experience, the first year I did it in 2022, after COVID, there's a lot of people. And then last year in 2023, it substantially grew. And this year we're hoping for even bigger amount of people showing up. And it's nice to see everyone come because ultimately, I didn't know this before volunteering and getting involved in the walk committee. In some way, everyone's impacted by MS, and in ways you don't even know.
How can people best support friends and family members who are living with MS?
So I would say be there for them, listen to them, and just that. But my big thing is, if you are dealing with MS, having that great support system is fantastic with family and friends and stuff. But I would get involved with the MS community, because your family and friends are great support, but they truly don't understand what you're going through. So joining the MS Society in any capacity, it will make the biggest difference to you.
You kind of touched on it before, but how important is it for you to participate in events like the MS Walk, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, it's really important, because living with MS and giving back to a community that was there for me and truly helping other people. I would say that live with MS and don't truly understand, or they feel stuck where they are.
For more on the Barrie MS Walk, May 26th at Heritage Park, log on to msspwalk.donordrive.com. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.